Hi, my name is Dr. Jacqueline Broadbent, and I'm going to give you a quick presentation on giving audio and video feedback using examples from my own large undergraduate first year unit in psychology. This presentation is based on a presentation that I gave at the Teaching and Learning Conference at Deakin in 2015. What I'm going to do is just quickly go through some examples of what we do using audio and video feedback, the resources we use to train markers, and also the moderation process that we use, all really important to giving high quality and timely feedback to students. So first up, I'm just going to give you an example of video feedback that we give. In my unit, we have multiple assessments spread out over this semester, and we use video and audio feedback as a way to give feedback to students on their assessment that they can then use in the next assessment piece. In the very first assessment piece that they add, we give them video feedback, which is just a short presentation by the marker just to kind of introduce themselves and allow the student to kind of put a face to the voice that they're hearing that's giving them feedback. This really overcomes some of the challenges that we have in a large unit where we're spread across 4 different campuses, including Cloud Campus, and the fact that not all students are being marked by the same person that's teaching them in their seminars. So first up, let's have a listen to Matilda.
Hi, it's Matilda, your tutor. Congratulations on completing your first journal. Hope my feedback's really helpful, and I look forward to reading your next 3 journals throughout the trimester.
As you can see, it's really quick. It's not really too overwhelming. One of the reasons why we make the video presentation just so short as an introduction is we found that some markers felt a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit scared about doing a face to camera, and pretty much anyone can do this face to camera in just kind of 10 seconds. And what they do is just record it once and they upload it to all of their students. So really super easy, really efficient, but also really nice that the student gets to see what the marker looks like. The second video I'm about to show you is just an example of the audio feedback that we give. So students get audio files of approximately about 5 minutes long for each of their assessment pieces. This of course changes depending on the quality of the student's work. If it's high quality work from the student, then typically the recording is a little less, around 3 minutes. And if the recording is, if the student's assessment is of lower quality, then the recording is usually a little bit longer. So we're going to look at Mike giving some audio feedback to a student on our second assessment piece called Journal 2. You'll see running along the top of the video is just me pinpointing some of the things that Mike is saying, including things like concrete examples, detailed feedback, and feed-forward feedback, so have a look out for it.
Finally, moving on to question 5 and 6. Really good work to see you come up with one strategy for each of the 4 different domains of control beliefs. What was particularly powerful about this response was the fact that you had that really clear explanation of how this was going to increase your self-control. I thought that this was especially strong with the informational domain, where you were talking about, I will research the AFL footballs, which is a really concrete and clear strategy. Then say, this will increase my control for reason X. You actually gave 2 examples, so that's great to see. This exact format that you provided, where you describe what you're going to do and then a statement of how that makes you feel more in control, is going to be really important to do again in journal post number 3. And the question which you can apply this is question 1 of part B, where we come up with strategies for increasing self-efficacy for each of the endurers 4 different ways. So when you do come up with strategies again for that question, it's important to state, just as you've done here, what you're going to do in a really concrete way, but then also describe how that's going to make you feel more in control or have more self-confidence, more self-efficacy in that particular domain. So Kate, well done again on finishing journal post number 2. This is a really strong second journal post, so you should be very proud of all your hard work. Well done.
So you can see listening to Mike that audio feedback in quite a short period of time can be filled with quite a lot of rich content. And that's one of the reasons that I love audio feedback, is that you can kind of say a lot of things in a short period of time. It's quite efficient. So then I wanted to discuss, I guess, next, just talking about those things that you were seeing flashing up above, using concrete examples and feed-forward feedback, because this is really important to the feedback process. So of course the technology is great. It does make it more personalized. It does help to build that relationship between teacher and student kind of straight away. But just like any other type of feedback, it can be of poor quality. And so we had to kind of spend some time working with our tutors and our markers in order to ensure that they knew what they needed to say and how to kind of get the message across in the most efficient time possible. So some of the things that we try and do is we try to make sure that we provide detailed feedback. That is, we try and avoid being vague. And we do this by actually providing the students with concrete examples with anything that any statements that we make about their piece of work. And this could be for a positive statement or a negative statement. So for example, when giving constructive criticism, one of the things that is really we try and get our markers to do is make sure that they give an example back to the students of what they're expecting to see. What would be a good example or a correct response for this particular question? And this really helps the student to understand where they've gone wrong in their response. We also do the same thing for positive comments. When we first started doing this, we realized that students don't always know what they've done well or how they've done well. So we trained our tutors to make sure that they give a concrete example of what they did well by usually pulling out something that they have actually written themselves, and we tell it back to them and say, well, this is really good for X reason. We also learned the hard way that we needed to make sure that our enthusiasm kind of matched our student mark. When we first started doing this about 4 years ago, we were all a little bit excited. I was very enthusiastic about jumping in there and giving feedback to students. And what we found was that if you're too enthusiastic and it doesn't match the mark that you're giving, it does send a mixed message, which just highlights more how you're kind of giving that extra information just through intonation and tone of voice to the student about their assessment. Probably my favourite thing that we have done in this feedback, and something that has taken us a little bit of time to get right, is this combination of feedback and feed-forward feedback. So feedback is kind of what we traditionally think about. Feedback is, we're writing on a student's work and we're kind of giving them information about their current performance. What feed-forward feedback does is it actually gives the student information about how to improve something in the future that's similar. So it's really about saying to them, okay, this is what you did now, but this is how you could improve this performance on this next assessment piece. And we've spent quite a bit of time linking our assessment pieces together so that markers can kind of give meaningful feedback that really clearly links to the next assessment piece, so the student can see how that skill transfers and how they could improve on that skill the next time they do something similar. We've also made use of what we call teachable moments. When we're training our markers, we often kind of teach them that feedback is really like teaching, except for you're outside the classroom. It's really an extension of that. And I think that's really changed the way that we've given feedback when we kind of think about it as, all right, what would I do if the student was face to face with me in a classroom? Oh, actually, I'd probably spend a little bit of time explaining that concept that they clearly don't understand. And so kind of thinking about it that way has meant we've done similar things in our audio feedback, and we spend the time kind of explaining a concept they clearly don't understand. Now, this is not to say that we give every single explanation, spend an hour like we would in class talking about the concept. We might just give a brief summary, and then we might link them back to resources that they could possibly use.